it aside and forget about it. Okay, so you guys were kind enough to show up today, shows that you guys are enthusiastic about, starting off your business correctly, going into 2019. So now we're gonna pass it off to Karyn.
Hi, everyone. All right, so of those of you who set some goals for 2019, anybody meet their goals, surpass their goals?
I did.
Yeah? Awesome. Richard? Awesome. Okay, so Robin, all right?
Pretty much right.
Right there. Okay, good. So, and there's something in common with the people that kind of rose their hand, and that is that you guys really work to kind of hone your skills, really work on your business, and all of that. So one of the things that I want to challenge you with after we end this meeting today is to really do a deep dive into your business plan for the new year. And now that it's kind of slowed down, we're approaching the holiday, take some time, maybe even if it's blocking out an hour each morning to get up and start really thinking about setting some goals, and then more importantly, putting the steps and the action plan into place as to how you're going to meet those goals. And I'm gonna also talk about how I want you to maybe think about your business a little bit differently as we go into 2020. I can't believe it's 2020, it's even hard to say.
I know.
The roaring 20.
Yeah, all right, so on the first page of your business planning packet there, I've got a business model, and it's kind of broken down into this pie chart or a donut of sorts. And so I want to talk to you about lead generation, about how you get your business. So just as a show of hands, how many people, if you look back at your transactions this past year, how many people got your business through people you knew, through your sphere of influence, past clients? Okay, look around the room. So fair amount of people, right? What about farming activities? A few, okay. Open houses. Okay, a fair amount of open houses. So I want you guys to think about this. Think about the left side of this business model. And the prospecting activities that go along with the left side of this business model. Your sphere of influence. Now the biggest show of hands was when I said who got their business from their sphere of influence, their past clients, and so forth, right? I would bet that if Leo added up all of the transactions that happened this year and went and talked to every agent, would you say that 75 to 80% of the business that came into Remax Terrasol came from this slice? Probably, right? Okay. The next biggest might be open houses and some other prospecting. So what would be that other prospecting? Might be farming activities. What else? What other activities do you guys do?
Networking.
Lead groups.
Networking, lead groups, right?
Door knocking.
Door knocking. What do all of those things have in common?
It's active.
You're not.
It's active. What else?
Relationships.
It's relationships. It's getting face to face with people, right? So 80% of an agent's business is really going to come from the left-hand side of this model, okay? Now there's other types of lead generation that you could do. Internet leads, Zillow, Realtor.com, buying those online leads. Listing leads, you could have a listing and you can get sign calls. You can have buyer leads and other seller leads from your current listings. What would be some other things that we've got? You could have referrals from other agents, right? Out of state, things like that. So that bucket could be filled with that as well. So here is the disconnect. The disconnect is that we tend to spend 80% of our marketing dollars on the right side of this pie. We spend a lot of time and energy and money chasing these leads. But if you look at all of our pool of business over this past year, said 80% of it probably came from this side of the pie. That we're not spending enough time nurturing this side of the business. So what I want to challenge you to do when you think about business planning going into the new year is how can you do a better job and a more consistent job with nurturing this side of your business. Now, some people do an awesome job at it already. So those of you who think that you might have gaps in that area, what are you guys doing? Those of you who feel like you do a pretty good job of staying in touch with your sphere of influence, your past clients, what are you guys doing to stay in touch and on a consistent basis? Kind of use this as like a mastermind, kind of help each other out.
Phone calls,
Phone
emails,
calls, emails,
text and notes.
text, handwritten notes,
Popeyes.
Popeyes.
Invite them to events that we have, like the balloon rides.
Yeah, the events that we have, the balloon rides, those what I'd call community events,
Social farming.
social farming, right? So that could be even farming within your social network. But here's the key thing. We have a lot of top producing agents in this room, right? The one thing that you do to become a top producing agent is that you're consistent with what you do. So I always tell my agents in the classes that I teach, of the newly licensed agents that come in, and I tell them, those top producing agents, they're not better looking than the rest of us, they're not smarter than the rest of us, but what they do is they're consistent with what they do. So if they're really working open houses, they're doing it every weekend. Like they're hitting it hard, right? If they're working their sphere of influence and staying in touch with their past clients and really getting out there, they're doing it on a consistent basis. So that might be a handwritten note card, a text message to say, hey, I was just thinking about you, or whatever that is, right? So whatever you're going to do next year and commit to, the one thing that will help you out the most is just being consistent with it, okay? So I'm not here to tell you to chase every shiny object that's out there. It's really spend a lot of time working this side of the business plan. Comments about that? Does that ring true for a lot of you? Yeah. Okay. The other thing you want to think about is how you can expand your range, reach, and influence in the community. Like, how do you get face to face, eyeball to eyeball with more people in the community? Because this is a relationship-based business, right? So what can you do to get face to face with people on this side of the pie?
Have community events, sponsor different events.
Sponsor different events.
Community.
Yeah, commit to getting out there and sponsoring some events. So let me give you some thoughts and ideas on, I do a lot of coaching, as a lot of you know, with agents throughout the country. So I hear about different things that they're doing. I'm working with teams and so forth. Some community events are really working because it really is a part of giving back to the community. It's that law of reciprocation where people feel like, well, if you're giving to them, they feel obligated to some degree to give back to you. So what kind of community events are working? You can have a community event in your farm, right? Schedule that. Have, 2 community events, 3 community events in that farm area next year. Calendar it, get it going. What's the benefit of those community events for you guys, other than just getting face to face?
When I do my shredding, I have an artisan fair coming up this weekend, and so people have to come to me, to get their tickets or whatever, but I've also done shredding events, and shredding events in the community doesn't cost that much, and it's like $600.
Yeah.
Coffee and donuts, and people love, and you got them there while they're shredding. So you have at least you got 10 minutes with them to talk to them, to get to know them, and they, and they're appreciative because it's something that they really need, and
Yeah.
they don't have to pay for it, and they're kind of like, and even with the e-waste, and stuff like that. People are so like thankful that, and it's, especially in my community, it's just like they don't have to go anywhere, they just go to the
Right.
park and that's right there.
Right.
So they just roll out of bed
And it changes the conversation too, because you know when you go up and you door knock, right? They're kind of like, oh, you know, they don't want to talk to you, they're a little standoffish, you gotta warm them up a little bit. At the community events, they're much more open to talk to you, much more often, open to telling you what their, real estate plans might be, you know, those types of things, so it really changes that conversation. So what about, client events? Your client, does anybody do client events, like a client appreciation party? I know, I thought you had done one once before, maybe not. But those pie events, those are client appreciation events. I know an agent that does a client appreciation party, so any client who referred them business, they have a special dinner at the end of the year for those clients. So it may be only 20 people, maybe 30 people. And she has a contest during that time. So she brings them in, really nice dinner, has a budget of about $4,000 for a really nice dinner in a nice location. And she has a contest that whoever can bring the most leads and drop them in a hat wins an iPad or wins some kind of a prize. And so I asked her, I said, well, does that really, or do people actually give you leads right at that party? She's like, yeah. I go, well, how much did that result in business last year? She's like, I tracked $80,000. Now this is somebody that's up in Washington State. Okay, so the price points, average price of a home is about $400,000, right? Tracked $80,000 in her return on her investment for that dinner alone, right? So how are you working the people that you have already given you referrals? They've already shown that they're willing to refer you. Okay, so as I close up on this business model, one of the other things I want to stress and why I feel it's important that you guys kind of take this on more is that as we have more and more disruptors come into our business and disrupt our business, you think that they're here to stay.
Yes.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. The last go around, they didn't go, you know, once the economy, you know, hit the skids, they kind of went away. I think there's billions of dollars being invested in disrupting our industry, and they're slowly chunking away at a little bit of our commission, right? I don't know whether that's gonna continue or whatever, but we have to prepare for it, right? If you work this side of the pie, you are keeping control of your business. Those relationships that you have, it's gonna be harder for the disruptors to get to those people because they trust you guys already, right? So you have more control of your business if you're working your sphere of influence, your past clients, and doing open houses and those prospecting activities. If you're really spending a lot of time and effort and money over here, Zillow changes their algorithms and decides that they're gonna change their model, and that's what you've been focused on, you have no control over that. You're up a creek, right? So do things that put you in a position of control in your business, okay? All right, so any questions, comments about that? As we go through this, I'm gonna talk about how to dive deeper into creating a plan for some of those things on the left-hand side. All right, the next page says winning. Managing your thoughts, managing your energy, your time, and your money. Okay, this really goes to what do you need to do in the new year to manage your thoughts? Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. Sometimes those negative thoughts or whatever creep in. What do you guys do to keep your mindset and everything going when this business can be a struggle and sometimes a grind?
Surfing and meditation and prayer.
Okay, surfing, love it.
I set my phone to not take any calls after 6 p.m. and until after 10 a.m.
That's great, and that really keeps you to feeling balanced. Just
I had
turning
to
it
shut up
off.
at night,
Do you train your clients to know that,
Yes.
what do you say to them? Cause I think that's something that people struggle with, is that feeling like you always have to be on even at 11 o'clock at night to pick up that phone.
I haven't been great about that, but I do mention that I have kids and that, you know, at night it's family time.
Yeah, yeah. And just
Morning
kind of,
It's getting ready to go.
yeah, setting that expectation ahead of time, so it just puts it in their mind that I'll wait till the next morning to call.
I wonder if that works for the broker.
No,
don't call me, you gotta
No,
call.
certainly.
We call you after 11 PM. You know, no kidding.
Exactly. So, you know, exercise, so managing your energy also has to do with kind of managing your thoughts as well. If you've got the energy to take on the day, I always feel like if I get a good night's sleep, I feel like I can just take on the day, right? Or I get my workout in the morning. What do you guys do to manage your energy as well? Similar.
Hot yoga.
Hot yoga,
Running, yeah, Chris.
running, meditation,
Walking the dog.
walking the dog. Is there something that as you go into the new year and you really want to hit it hard so that you hit your goals going into the new year, that you can, anything you can do to implement to really manage your energy? And for me, I've started doing a little bit of meal prep, just because I'm running around, I just eat crap if I run to the store or something to grab something. That helps manage my energy, because I don't do this thing where I become starving to death and then just go eat anything, right? Just to, you know, have that energy. And so I'm gonna try to do more of that going into the new year. It just makes me feel better too. So what going into the new year, or even what you've done this year, that you'll continue to help manage your energy?
I swim an hour every day. It helps me a lot.
Wow, that's awesome. Swim an hour a day, fantastic.
Because you can think a lot when you're in the pool.
Yeah,
There's no disturbances.
yeah. I love it, I love it. Probably gives you the same feeling as meditating for some people. What about managing your time? This is a big one, right? Managing your time, how many people struggle with that? Like, this is a hard business to manage your time. Leo and Ron aren't looking over your shoulder going, are you working today, you know? And also, what are you doing in that time, right? So, when you think about your schedule going into the new year, do you want a schedule that pays you $20,000 a year? Do you want a schedule that pays you $100,000 or $200,000 or whatever that goal is? Because we all have the same amount of time. Really, the only difference is what we do in that time, right? That makes the difference. So, and sometimes it's these small tweaks to our schedule that make a big difference, right? So, have a plan each day. Know what you're going to be doing in the time that you have allocated for work. So since I've been doing a lot of teaching on time blocking, I actually started implementing it, you know, slowly but surely. I time block like crazy now. I even time block time to spend with my kids. And I struggle with that because I think, like, that's not even the right way to be if I have to do that. But it actually allows me to be more mindful and intentional in that time that I'm with them. But in the time that I'm working, I really try to hit it hard, like 110% into working when I've allocated that time to work. Does that make sense? But and then on that time that I take off, I don't feel guilty that I should be doing something. Right? Does anybody have that feeling? Yeah. So what you do in the hours that you time block to work matter. They matter a lot. And the people that are really making the money out there are using that time wisely. And they're doing their lead generation and their prospecting in that time. And the people that can really balance it best are also time blocking that time, like having the time between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. to not take calls, things like that. That you're intentional about how you spend your time. I think that's the point. So you be more intentional about how you spend your time? All right, on the next page, on the next page is the 2019 year-end review. This is something I'm really not gonna go over with you, but I would really encourage you to write out what your total income was, your total amount of listing appointments versus the amount that the listings that you actually got. So I may have gone on 10 listing appointments and I got 8, right? Total listings sold. How many buyers did I represent versus sellers? So if you guys can think about this past year and the transactions that you did, how many people worked with more sellers than buyers? Okay, more sellers, okay? And everyone else more buyers, okay? All right, so look at where that business came from. Like, where did I get each one of those leads, right? Where did that business come from? And if I want to start getting more listings, what do I need to do in terms of my lead generation to get more listings? Okay, so it's really good to go back and review the current year. And then the next page is the gap analysis. The second sentence says, what are the changes I need to make to achieve the goal I have set before for 2020? What are the changes that I need to make? So let me ask you guys this. What do you feel like you did awesome at this year? Come on, I know some of you had a really good year.
I just told everybody that I'm a realtor no matter what, but subtly. So
Okay.
I'd be like, oh, my husband says I need to sell one more house to be the other bathroom done, oh my gosh, you know, but
Yeah.
so things like that, and it just reminded every one of my friends and the TV repairman or whoever,
Yeah,
you know, that, oh, you're an agent, what do you do? You know,
Right.
So,
I had somebody come into my garage to fix something, my washer or dryer or something, and they saw my real estate signs there. He's like, oh, you're in real estate. I'm thinking about buying something, and blah, 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 you know, so it creates that conversation. So that's a great example of something very small that you changed just slightly, and you felt like it made a big difference in your business.
for sure.
Anybody else have something that you just felt like you really did awesome at this year?
I was very consistent this year
Okay,
with the daily routine, the morning routines,
Okay.
helping others.
and that really seemed
God
to,
seemed to give back to me that.
yeah, and that follow through, and that follow up with those people.
Yeah, we made Pinnacle Club with UWM and Quicken. There's 2 brokers that made that.
Wow.
And DeVita's one of them.
Awesome,
that was
so
hard.
it's consistency, right? It's consistency and follow up, right? Because your business is not unlike, our business, in real estate.
Nope, it's not.
What do you guys feel like you could have done a little bit better? Come on, run,
Reach more people,
reach more people, okay?
or touch them.
Touch more people, okay, okay.
Written more notes.
What's that?
Written more notes.
Written more
My
notes.
drawer's full.
Okay, handwritten note cards.
Cards.
Handwritten note cards. Anybody else?
Phone calls.
Phone calls, yep, okay. Getting better at maybe making those phone calls.
Going back to the notes, I just started doing the notes thing, cause I noticed quite a few agents were doing it and they're doing well. And Leo recommended it to me, thanks Leo. So, you know, some of the deals that just popped up at the end of the year, I know you guys have noticed, were just from me sending out little handwritten notes. And it was very minimal, it was only 25 I was sending a month.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it just started, you know,
Yeah,
opening up, so I think
And-
it's.
and that's working on-
Thank you, Leo and Jean and all of you guys are always writing notes.
right, and that's really working and touching those people on the left-hand side of that business plan, right? Which is so important. And so I don't want you to walk away feeling overwhelmed from today. I want you to walk away with like one thing that you're gonna say, I'm gonna implement that next year. And it could be handwritten notes, it could be, you know, making more phone calls and things like that. Those small tweaks can really make a difference in your business.
Sending out videos.
Sending out videos,
Yeah.
that's right.
Well,
I
Leo's
love
gotten better at
Yeah.
I actually showed that to a couple people, because I said, you know what? How much more impactful is that to feel like you're appreciated, to feel like, you know, it's just such a much warmer touch than an email or even a handwritten note card. So how can you implement some of the technology to just send out those quick messages to your past clients, wishing them happy holidays or whatever it is, that might make all the difference so you stay top of mind next year. That's the key, right? The reason we're having those multiple touches, whether it's email, text messages, we call it the web of connections that you have with the people that you know. If you shore up that web of connections, then you stay top of mind, and when they have a real estate need, they pick up the phone and call you, right? So nobody mentioned lead follow-up as one of the things they could do better at. So great job, but if that's something that you feel like you need to implement into the new year, which is something that I find that a lot of people struggle with, is like sitting down and dedicating that time for that lead follow-up. I have one gal that I coach, and she said, I just, you know, I have mounds and pages of open house leads from like 2 years ago. What should I do with them? I'm like, start calling them. She started calling them. She's got 2 great buyer leads off of them, worth about $3 million, okay, down in Newport Beach. So, you know what, guys, people are still, you know, 1 year to 18 months out when they walk into an open house at times, go back to those old open house sheets and start calling people. If you don't have anything really going in January, start January 2nd and start calling people. That's the time people are starting to think about their year. Okay. So go through this gap analysis. It is very much an eye-opener to what you might be able to shift in the new year. All right. And then the goals for the next 12 months. Goals for the next 12 months. Your income goal, how many deals you want to close, your listing appointments, so how many listings are you going to take? How many buyer sales are you going to have, right? If you don't know where those are going to come from, then you don't have a business. But if you have some lead system set up where you know that you can get X amount of deals if you do 2 open houses a week, you can close, you know, 3 or 4 deals off of open house leads, right? So determine where you're going to get those leads and what your focus is going to be on with lead generation, okay? So this will help you get clarity on your goals for the next 12 months. And everyone is different. So the next page is my 1, 3, 5 for my business. I want to spend a little bit of time on that real quick. This is how you're going to do it. How are you going to reach your goals? The 1 stands for the goal. So your 2020 income goal, you write down that. Priorities will be how many deals you're going to close. So it says priority number 1, I will close X amount of buyers by presenting X amount of buyer consultations. Okay, so if you're going to close 20 buyers, how many buyer consultations, buyer leads do you need to have to close 20? Okay, and where are those leads going to come from? That's the kicker, right? Where are those leads? So that's your source, your strategy. So for everyone, for strategy number 1, put your sphere of influence in past clients. Sphere of influence in past clients. How else am I going to get buyer leads? Open houses is a good one. And this is all based on you, how you want to run your business and the methods of lead generation you want. We always say that you want 3 to 5 methods of lead generation, okay, to have a stable business. Think of this stool here. If each one of these legs on this stool is a method of lead generation, this is my sphere of influence, this is open houses, this is my farm, what's this? This is my networking group, etc. If I have some steady streams of business coming in, the stool's pretty stable, right? If I lose one of those, then I don't have as stable of a business, right? If internet leads were one of my, main sources and I lose that, then I have a less stable business. So think of having 3 to 5 methods of lead generation and working consistently. Create a plan. I would say create like a mini business plan for each one. So if it's your farm, what kind of business plan can you set up for your farm? Those of you who are farming, what could you do to set yourself up for success next year for your farm?
Flyer every month, have a community event.
Schedule a flyer to go out every month, a community event, door knocking maybe, right? And schedule it, calendar it, put it in, and be consistent with it. Follow that system, right? That system will pay off. What about your sphere of influence and past clients, where we said the 80% of our business comes from there? What can you do to be consistent there?
Block out 2 hours in the morning to make phone calls.
Block out 2 hours in the morning to make phone calls,
Cards, notes.
notes, lunches. Those people who referred you, how can you take extra special care of them? Lunches, take them to coffee, right? Spending a little bit of extra time. Not everyone in your database is treated the same. Those people who've already referred you, or I call your cheerleaders or your advocates, right? Those people that can refer you business, take special care of them, right? Spend some extra time with them. Identify who those people are. And those of you who don't have a database, one of the things you can do for yourself next year is get a database, right? Without a database, you don't have a business. So Booge just came out. You can import all of your contacts into Booge. And one of the things that you can do is just set up that regular email that goes out to your past clients and sphere of influence. Again, your goal is to stay top of mind with the people you know, okay? And be consistent with it. All right, so each one of these strategies would be your lead generation sources, your sphere of influence, your farming activities, open houses. I know people that have built their business by saying, I'm just gonna do open houses. That's all I'm gonna do all year long. I'm gonna commit to doing 2 or 3 open houses a week, right? So then priority number 2, I will close X amount of listings by presenting X amount of listing appointments. So I may wanna close 20, but I need to go on 30 appointments because I know I'm not gonna get all of them, right? Look at your listing taken ratio. Are you guys getting every listing that you go on an appointment for? If you feel like that's something you could do better at, think about how you can change your listing presentation, or even have a listing presentation. Because I know a lot of people just come in with a CMA and they don't even have a listing presentation. So if that's some small tweak you can make to your business, come to one of my listing presentation classes. I've got a great one that you can use and utilize some of the verbiage on it. To Leo's point about communication, that's absolutely one of the biggest complaints. Why not have in your listing presentation, lay out a communication plan for them while you're talking them through. Here's what I'm gonna do. Here's how I'm gonna communicate with you on a weekly basis. Have that be part of your plan. You guys are working mainly in a luxury market area, and people expect a lot. They expect good customer service and good communication, and we make a lot of money with what we do. So we've got to, at a very minimum, communicate well with our clients. Go ahead, John.
You mentioned Booge, which is largely not ready yet, but Lead Street is still around, and that lets you send free emails as many as you want, as often as you want.
Yeah,
Outside companies charge a lot of money if you want to send emails.
they do.
Lead Street's free.
Okay, and I think some of the marketing that will come to Booge will also be free as well. So whichever CRM you know, and database works for you, use it. Because that's one way that you can automate your touches. There aren't a lot of ways we can automate our touches to the people we know, but that's one of them, is through email. The email that I send out to you guys on a monthly basis with a training calendar, I use MailChimp. It's free. It's got great templates. It's, you know, it's awesome. Lots of opportunities there. So look at where your business is going to come from and how you're going to make some of these small tweaks. If you guys want help with this page and really creating a plan for each one of your lead sources, come talk to me. Ron, Leo will help you create that plan for your lead sources this upcoming year. And lastly, then, the priority 3. To achieve this goal, what do I need to know? So that could be, I need to get better at my listing presentation, or I need to get better at handling that commission objection that I panic and hope they don't talk about when I'm there. Right, Leo sent out an awesome video a couple weeks ago on commission objections. And I think the big takeaway from that is bring it up first, right? Be the first one to bring it up so that you take control of that conversation. So if it's objection handling, dive into that and find ways to get better at that. If it's scripts, find a script partner, find somebody that, or just practice it on your own. Identify what you need to know to get better at what you do next year. So practice scripts, time block. If you're really struggling with your time management, seek out ways to get help with your time management. Be consistent. Strategy number 4, what do you need to have to do better next year? What do you need to have to get more business next year? Like, what's the first thing that came to your mind when I said that? A tripod, a schedule, okay.
More touches
More touches,
and setting
numbers,
appointments.
and setting appointments, okay? What do you need to have? Anybody else?
A bigger marketing budget?
Time, a bigger marketing budget. That brings up something I wanna just touch on really quickly. It's not about adding a lot to what you're doing now. It's making some small tweaks to extract as many leads from your current lead sources as possible. So Jean, let's say, I'm gonna pick on you for a second. Let's say you said, you know what, I feel like I did really well with listings this year. I got a lot of business. I wanna get more listings next year. What else can I do? Can I get internet leads? Can I, what can I do? I would say to you, look at your current listings and what can you do to maximize your leads and extract as many leads out of that listing as possible. So does that mean putting together a system that every time I get a listing, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna door knock 50 homes. I'm gonna send out postcards. I'm gonna hold a sneak preview wine and cheese event for the neighborhood. And every time I get a listing, I'm gonna follow that program, right? So that I can extract as many leads from my current lead sources. Does that make sense? So it's not about adding a lot, it's about extracting more from what you're already good at, what you did this year, right? Okay, so, and then who, the last one. Who do I need to know? Who do I need to associate with to get better at what I do, to get more business, whatever that means to you? And then lastly, we have a self-skills assessment that I want to just kind of close with that. And if you guys fill that out, that will identify some areas where you feel like you have some gaps. I'd like you to take just a couple minutes to fill that out. It's really quick on a scale of 1 to 10 where you feel that you need help. And then I'd like you to tear those pages out, write down your top 3, and leave the pages behind so I can have them. Because that will set the stage for the kind of training we'll do in the upcoming year to get you guys what you need. Okay? So just take a couple minutes to do that. brevity, that's online leads, just think of it as online leads. Zillow. I left you with some things to think about in terms of planning your new year. Any, give me one takeaway that you took out of today that you think you could implement, or that made sense to you.
I like that you find one thing that you're good at and be consistent on that.
Okay?
You know, it's not like you're leaving here overwhelmed, like, oh my God, I got 100 things I need to handle.
Right.
Handle one or two, awesome, and the rest will kind of follow suit.
Yep, and be consistent with it.
I like that last little point you brought up, especially about squeezing every little drop out of each connection.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
You know, sometimes you finish the deal and, okay, it's done, it's like, oh, nice, well, they might have 2 or 3 more people.
Right, right. So
Waiting for
extracting
you,
as
so
many
just-
leads out of that,
Exactly.
that deal. Yep, that lead source.
Yeah, Ken, I just wanted to share something, on this last listing I took the other day, and